You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
This is Where You Live with Gene and Tony, and we're broadcasting from the Natural Green Lawn and Landscape Studios. We're brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. As an American Family Insurance agent, Kim believes that there's much more to insurance than the policy itself. It's about providing you with dependable protection and services. Kim believes that trust and credibility can't be demanded. It can only be earned by what you say and what you do. Call Kim at 651-482-1598 and tell her you heard it here on Where You Live. It's time now for a message from the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. The MHA Minute is brought to you by Start to Finish Maintenance Contractors. Start to Finish provides 24-hour service for all of your home and business maintenance needs. Call Start to Finish at 952-259-1219 for your home, for your business, and for your peace of mind.
If you're renting out a property for the first time, there's a lot you need to know so that you can do it successfully and, frankly, keep yourself out of trouble. Luckily, there's a statewide resource with all the tools you need to run your new business successfully. In fact, the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association regularly holds a seminar called Accidental Landlord, specifically designed for people who are renting out a property for the first time. They also have residential leases, security deposit agreements, a lead disclosure, and lots of other forms. They even have brochures on the principles of successful property management and the eviction process that you can download for free. So if you want to know more about the Accidental Landlord Seminar or other classes about owning, managing, or maintaining anything from a single unit to a growing apartment portfolio, visit the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association's website, mmha.com. That's two M's, mmha.com.
You found a bunch of articles, Gene, about sweeping changes in landlord-tenant law throughout the country.
That's right.
And what's interesting is these issues cut both ways, or the different examples you found, and I think you found 6 or 8 examples, cut both ways. Some are supportive of landlords, some are supportive of tenants.
Yes, what's interesting in the cases that the ones that have been supportive of landlords, that's where the legislature has stated that after creating a committee to study and review the current laws, their conclusion, call for sweeping reform. In other words, let's not keep these on the books. Let's talk about a couple of those that I think you and I would agree. We think there is a good reason behind this, and that's in the state of Arkansas. Okay, and it says that Arkansas is the only state, and I did not know this.
I didn't either
before today's show. Yeah, is the only state in which it's actually a crime for a tenant to fail to pay rent.
I think that's very interesting. I'm trying to imagine a world where it's a crime not to pay your rent and how that would benefit landlords. Would that mean that you can call the police in Arkansas when your tenant fails to pay their rent on time? What do you think?
I don't know if it necessarily institutes or initiates a police action. Not
I don't know
either. Not everyone does.
Not every crime means police action is necessary. That's a good point.
Immediately,
Yeah.
So but it's interesting because to me it seems like they're saying in Arkansas that we're going to identify this type of relationship in the same manner as several others. And for those of you who are listening who may think, well, that seems a little bit over the top, don't you think? A crime, really, is it a crime for a tenant to fail to pay rent? Well, here are other areas where it is a crime and the police do follow up. If you were to pump gas in your car and then go away without paying, that's a crime.
That's right.
And you can go to jail for that because the idea is there was an implied relationship and a implied consent that you're using a service,
you're purchasing a product
of someone else.
That's right.
And then you're going to pay.
And now
you've got to pay for it. In hotel management, it's been that way for years
Forever.
and years and years.
That's right. Hotels and innkeepers, which also encompasses restaurants.
Restaurants
If
as
you
well. Good
skip
point.
out without paying for your meal, if you skip out of your motel without paying for your room, that's a crime.
Yeah. And when you think of all of those different analogies, it certainly seems to tie in here with a crime for a tenant to fail to pay rent because they're saying, I want you to provide a service, a product to me, and that is you are giving me what you own, which is, if it's a
This
home,
property,
if it's a home, it could be over $100,000 piece of property.
Oh,
you're
easily.
You're letting me use for the month.
That's right.
And so I get free reign of being able to use it, bringing guests
that's
in
right.
here.
That's
and
right.
so, yes, I think it's very interesting that Arkansas took that tack years ago, and it makes sense to me.
It does to me too, but that's what they're looking to reform because they think that is out of balance. That gives landlords too much power because, of course, what it means is landlords do not have to follow any kind of statutory process to evict people.
Yeah.
They don't have to file an eviction court. They don't have to appear in court. They don't have to prove that the tenant is at fault or in the wrong to evict them. It's easier to evict non-paying tenants in the state of Arkansas right now.
What do you think of this? Because it goes on to say that in Arkansas, it says there is no implied warranty concerning habitability in a home. In other words, a landlord is not under any legal obligation to make the property that they are leasing out to a tenant to be safe and livable.
And habitable. You know, it's hard. I don't see a problem with requiring landlords to have safe and habitable property. I guess because that's how good landlords operate. Good landlords want to offer a good product at the highest possible price out there in the market.
Yeah.
So to me, it makes sense to have a habitable property. But if I could have this legislation or this situation in Minnesota that says I can evict a tenant for non-payment as a crime without having to go through the eviction process, and in exchange for that, I provide a habitable place to live, I'd say, you betcha, sure enough, I'll do that.
But, what's interesting is that this entire commission in Arkansas, they brought up a very interesting point, and that is this. They said, there are good landlords out there who already voluntarily, and that's key, voluntarily include many of these recommended protections that we're going to talk to you about, legislature, already in their lease agreements. In other words, just what you said, in a free market, the market is going to dictate what happens, and I think can dictate much more effectively and be able to reward someone much more effectively of good behavior than bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You let the market decide. That means the landlords with a good product who take good care of their product and take good care of their customers are going to do better business than the landlords who don't. They're going to have longer-term relationships. They're going to find better tenants. They're going to get more money for their products. So it's yet another instance of legislators messing around with the market.
Now, I want to make a distinction here. This is different than I think what some people would refer to as someone who is deceiving. Now, if someone is purposefully deceiving, saying this is what you get when that's not what you have, that is, we're talking about intent. And yes, there's definitely laws that need to be in place for that. But when you have this premise that, we're talking about two adults here, and I've been a landlord for years and years, and I know I wanted to keep the walls painted a certain color. However, I had a tenant who said, I want this color, and I'm in a quandary. If I want it rented now, I go with what the renter says.
Right.
That's what the market says right now.
That's right. That's right.
It's interesting. Let's close on this. Some interesting advice that the Florida Department of Consumer Services state. Do you want to kind of bring it in for a close here with us on this, Tony?
Okay. The Florida Department of Consumer Services talks about a tenant being an equal party with the landlord. Is that the issue you're talking
exactly.
about? That as a tenant, you can walk through a problem or through a property to identify problems before you sign a contract. So make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure you read the fine print. Don't sign the contract if you don't agree with what it says.
If you don't understand, you don't sign.
That's right.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today's show. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you here next Saturday on Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Goodbye. I have been chosen. Farewell, my friends. I go on to a better place.